Hello, everyone. I think we're ready to start here. So let me share my screen. So welcome to our webinar today. You're here with Sitecore and XCentium, where we are going to talk about the business case for AI when it comes to B2B commerce. So this is actually a presentation that the team put together and delivered a few weeks ago, and there was enough interest that we wanted to make sure that we offered it generally speaking today. So my name is Sam Goel, and I'm Vice President of Digital at XCentium. We are a full-service digital consultancy where we work with businesses to make the most out of their technical investments to deliver business solutions that deliver value. I have Kautilya Prasad with me from XCentium, and he leads our practice around e-commerce, specifically with Sitecore. And we're really happy today to have Steve Davis from Sitecore with us. We are longtime collaborators, and these guys have some really cool real-life solutions to share with you. So in the space talking about AI, we've been talking about hypotheticals and sort of dream scenarios, but Sitecore and XCentium are all about, let's actually show what we can do with this stuff in real life and in a short amount of time. So with that said, what we're going to talk about today is really like, when we boil it down, what is the big deal with AI? I think there's a lot of, like I mentioned, a lot of dreaming when it comes to the technology. There are some concerns, but there's really some good real life practical applications that you can leverage very quickly. And so Kautilya will give a little background on that, talk about some of the research and some of the numbers that we're seeing in terms of business impact. He's gonna walk through some real applications. So let's take this from theoretical to practical applications. And then Steve's going to walk us through some really cool demos and talking through the business case for AI, specifically in B2B. So Kautilya, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Sam. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Believe it or not, the AI revolution is here, and it's making a big impact already. It is evolving so fast that it can feel a bit overwhelming to keep up with all the changes. Gen AI in particular is evolving at a rate that is much more than the usual machine learning and other AI fields. With that, I want to give a staggering numbers around Gen AI. Gen AI features stand to add up to 4.4 trillion in global economy annually, globally. So that's a big number, and we want to make sure that you as a business are taking full advantage of AI and embracing it, because if you're not, your competitor is definitely taking advantage of it. Moving on, before I dive into the real applications, I want to talk about something really simple and important, backed by case studies by Microsoft and other big organizations. What is the most important thing with AI when you start? It's the alignment and expectations from AI. You can't start with AI aiming so high that you fall so hard and you are behind your competitors so much. And you can't aim so low that you don't have the ROI that's justifiable to the stakeholders. So it's really important that AI is mimicking what a human can do right now. And you start from that place and crawl, walk, and run. It's really important to have that mindset. And you'll see that in all of these use cases here, there's a big equalizer. AI is a big equalizer. You may have a stellar team right now that's great at forecasting inventory, or a team that's curating recommendations. But your competitor is taking advantage of AI to go beyond what your team is doing right now. Eventually, your team, who's stellar at forecasting, store operations, customer service, will be competing with someone who's taking advantage of AI and can crunch data faster than your team can do manually. That is why these applications are really important because the customers' attention span is reducing. They want things to be delivered as a summary. They want everything to be fast and they want everything to be accurate. So this is where AI is a big equalizer. And you have a team right now, that's great, yes, but your competitor is also going to outpace you by adding AI, and your team will be competing with your competitors' AI-driven, AI-empowered team. Looking at these use cases, the assistance, recommendation, search, these are very basic use cases, but these are a very high return on investment. For example, a recommendation engine that is tailored to your customer's journey based on browsing history, order history is very important right now. Again, for store operations, you need to have a co-pilot for your assistants in the store to get answers quickly, do operations quickly. And AI is good at identifying patterns and recommending some new data points that humans can miss. So that is why it is very important to understand, like, yes, you may be offering recommendation, you may be offering search and forecasting, but eventually your competitor will surpass you if you don't add AI to your features. Let's look into the first use case, which is the assistant. One of the goals as a business is to increase sales. How can we do it? Like I mentioned before, the customers are very smart right now. They come to the website, they know what they want and are looking for some answers quickly, a summary of what if the product is actually doing what they want. So you may have the content already on the website, on the PDP or some other page. It could be something related to the shipping of the product, how soon it ship, how the weight and all that restrictions. And they want the answers quickly. This is where the assistant comes into play. This assistant is not just a chatbot. It can take your query in natural language, any language of your choice that you support, extract the keywords, and pass uh, the information to backend APIs, which in this case is Sitecore Order Cloud. And it can receive results and crawl the website and content and summarize it together and present options to you. So this is where it's really important to have a co-pilot for your customer where they can have a conversation just like in store. If they go to a store and they have a store assistant to answer your questions, you have a co-pilot on the website, which is answering your questions, making your search focused, and and additionally, once it has delivered what you wanted, it's going to ask further question. Hey, do you want to check out? Do you want to see if this has Bluetooth or not? Do you want to see the shipping options? More of conversational after that. So it's really important here that the customer is focused on what it wants and you deliver the results what the customer is looking for. And from there, it starts as a conversation and they can complete the checkout. If we move on to the next slide, on the same lines, what the assistant can do is it has access to your browsing history. It has access to all your order history and your journey and how much time you spent on the website. It can tailor the experience based on your current journey, based on your past orders, based on where you were before clicking on the shopping assistant pop-up. And along with that, it can detect whether you are qualifying for some promotions, which otherwise you may miss because you are not browsing the website or not looking at the banners. It can suggest promotions, and it can it can learn from past conversation and become better. So this is where it's the satisfaction comes into place. Like every time you interact with this assistant, you as a customer are feeling more valued because it understands your intention, how you talk, and how you want to proceed. So this is, if you look at the example on the top right, right bottom, it says, I found a promotion for your order and says, hey, this is a promotion, would you like to apply? So this is something you as a customer on the website might not see because it might be there as a banner, but you might miss it. But this assistant is actually going to give you that option. Let's move on to the next use case, which is on the customer satisfaction side. And what this assistant is doing is making your returns more efficient. In B2B, a lot of returns are happening via creating RMA, or you have to call in and fill a form, and then you have to mail it or fax it or scan it and send it. So this assistant can take away all that section and ask questions to you as you can program it. Basically, you have prompts to feed to the assistant and say, okay, if the customer is not happy, give them the option to keep the product and they get the refund as well. So it's doing runtime sentiment analysis. It's giving you more personalized responses, and most likely the resolution is going to be done in during the initial contact. Otherwise, if this is not there, the customer would have to be either call the call center or download a form from the website and create RMA. So it removes a lot of friction from the process, and ultimately the customer is going to be more satisfied with this approach. Another thing you Mhm.
Katilia, I did just want to interject here for a minute because, for me, and I'm more on the, the marketing side of the house, less on the technical side. But what's really clear to me as we walk through these examples is this is sort of ideal state personalization, right? And
Right.
and we're seeing clear, you have noted here this is around customer satisfaction, but I'm already seeing where that, that's obviously customer facing, reducing friction, but there's also an element of improving the quality, reducing the risk of human error within some of these manual processes and decisioning that a person might have to make. Where I think
Absolutely.
there's also huge operational value.
Hmm.
And then I think this is also, to me, answering the question of, okay, well, is AI going to take over for a human brain? These are all examples where it's not. What it's doing is it's adding to the quality and the speed of what that
Correct.
human can do, going back to your initial point of how do you strategize using AI. And it's taking those
Correct.
human capabilities, and if you can mimic that with AI, then that, obviously increases both quality and throughput for the folks that you already have doing business
Absolutely.
with you and doing business on your behalf.
That's correct. And it can scale automatically. So if you have a
Yeah.
large influx of you need to scale, it can do it automatically.
Yep.
And it can serve any language of your choice the website serves. So you don't have to have an actual person speaking that language. This bot can this can speak in any language that's AI supports. So it's
Yeah, I
really
mean, so
helpful.
like when we talk about assistants, these are assistants from the customer experience, but they're also assistants for those internal operations.
Correct. So yeah, that's the other one I'm going to talk about. This is the one we just talked. Like, yes, now until now we had assistants for the customers. What about how do I improve? How do I use AI and improve my team's efficiency? So this is an assistant that either your internal teams or back office or catalog manager can use. And most in B2B, you have a lot of complex promotion scenarios. And often a lot of people don't want to change existing promotions and keep on adding new promotion with the same qualification and same benefits because it's just easier to go and add new rather than go and search around thousands of promotions uh, and update it. So what this assistant does is it creates a promotion for you. Yes, it goes and finds promotion for you. Like, do you have an existing promotion like this? And then it also validates when you're creating a new promotion that, hey, you already have this promotion. Why are you going to create a new one? I can just go and update the last end date because it expired. So these are some benefits that the internal team can take advantage of. It's more of a co-pilot for them. It will make them more efficient. And this is something that is really going to be big in future because ultimately you have a lot of querying abilities in natural language. You don't need a skilled like technical operations team because this assistant understands your natural language, and there are inbuilt validations in the assistant that can help you add guardrails, like nobody should skip that part. Absolutely do not give something 100% off. That's more than $2,000 kind of thing. So those things can be added there easily so that you can be rest assured that nothing will slip in that is something that you don't want. So rules can be easily added.
Yeah, so
Similarly,
the right combination of empowering your customer service people without just totally opening yourself up for risk.
correct. And then similarly on the pricing side, and if you have subscription or catalog management, you can have infinite coding abilities, because all this is doing is taking English language, any language you have there, converting, breaking it into parameters for the backend API, and summarizing the input, output, returned, and presenting it to the user. So this is whether you have subscription management, price management, catalog management, inventory management. It can run reports for you. It can run query. It can update easily without writing complex SQL queries. All right, moving on.
Excellent. Yeah, so I think we're going to get to the demo stuff next, but we'll set some context for that a little bit here. So we talked at the beginning about, this is all well and good, but what folks will need is the ability to create that business case and that plan to make sure that if you're going to embark on implementing any of this stuff, you've got a way to measure and report on success and get to that stuff quickly. And so just to go around those kind of three main steps, right? This is a little bit of business case 101, but let's all make sure we're on the same page. You want to identify those business objectives. Again, taking the AI conversation from the theoretical to this is where we think it can make an impact on our business. And that could be customer facing, that could be operational, it could be both. Quantifying those benefits. So, defining that hypothesis of what we think it's going to do, and then creating that roadmap to success. So that's kind of the lay of the land. Steve, maybe you can dive into some of the details around those three steps for us.
Sure. So as the slide lays out, three main components to focus on. One, creating operational efficiencies. There's an impetus from everybody to ask the question, what are you doing with AI? And it's a huge question, and I think sometimes people jump to the outcomes before they realize the foundation that needs to be put in place to get there. And some of this is evidenced by different research and reports that are coming through different agencies like Forrester, where they're identifying that 83% of their customer respondents in the B2B manufacturing space have some combination of incomplete, inconsistent, inaccurate, or unstructured data, which is a daunting challenge for them to solve for. And even within that, then they're, 80% of them are stymied by a lack of automation and data that's siloed and it's not available to the broader organization to take advantage of. And bringing those things into a consolidated, structured system is going to provide these operational efficiencies to lay the foundation to pursue some of these innovations that are improving that customer satisfaction. So then how do you increase that satisfaction? Most people today will answer the question that their e-commerce platform lacks the tools to handle the complexity of their products and their customer data, and then to scale effectively to address the demands of these types of organizations. And so, being able to take this foundation of data and analyze customer behavior and purchase history and eliminate the pain points of the shopping process improves that satisfaction, which drives yourself forward into improving your margins and profitability, because you're going to garner repeat customers. You're going to identify where maybe a subscription supports that customer's needs better than an ad hoc shopping experience. But to just be able to recognize that, like, as the world is changing, where today B2B buyers expect to have the same type of shopping experience as a B2C buyer may require, that does now also cross over into these new experiences that are driven by AI that become more conversational, more consultative and collaborative. And those all are part of hitting each of these three pillars of what the business objectives should be focused on to achieve some of these goals. And so if we move on to the second piece, which is quantifying those potential benefits, there's additionally a report Microsoft commissioned from Forrester that took a composite of 4 different companies, combined would be about $5 billion in revenue, and these were B2B manufacturing companies. And so they went through a 3-year process of bringing this type of operational efficiency into their organization, and they had actual quantified stats that you can look to. And so operationally, what they're seeing is an improved business analyst access. So that data is propagated and available to everyone to work with consistently. And so there's accuracy in their analytics and their predictability of their operations. This results in a lot better insights into just what they are doing. We were with a customer recently who talked about they've got about a 19% order failure rate because they can't predict production capacity. So being able to bring some of that information from all these different systems into a unified platform supports some of those operational benefits. Along with that, though, even just within your data engineering department, the productivity set increases by upwards of 25%. And later I'll do a demo where we're using real data to show how simple it is to generate reports with tremendous amounts of insights with just pure English language prompts. But overall, in that report, the outcome was an ROI of 379%. They realized their value in under 6 months period of time, and their present value was up into the $10 million range, which was an absolutely real quantifiable benefits to this type of a program. But if we carry that into, well, what are the experiential benefits, right? How are you improving that customer interaction and satisfaction? And once you have good data hygiene practices in place, then you're able to layer in these AI-driven product data and discovery, and able to realize the context beyond just that simple transaction that may be there, and potentially incorporate other facets of what that customer may be looking for that they hadn't predicted themselves, right? So they're no longer just prompting you, you're prompting back to them in a way. But today, e-commerce, it's more than just a website shop. It's more than listing products on a page, having facets to narrow that discovery down. It's an entire set of operations for selling online, and a lot of times that is also still impacted by humans. That journey can take that person to the point where the human interaction becomes more seamless. Field sales rep potentially leveraging this technology and intelligence to better serve the customer directly through their questions and insights into what they're pursuing. And finally getting to that advanced product discovery built on strong data is what is going to allow your sales teams in these types of scenarios to also be more efficient and provide the better customer service in the end. So if we step forward, talking about some of these experiences, you can see here where a screenshot of a demo customer that we refer to as turbo parts. And there's a bot, right? This is what most of us think about now with the conversational commerce. Here's the prompt, we're typing, we're interacting with that service. And what I want to point out here is this type of technology isn't 2 years away. And your organization taking advantage of this is also not 2 years away, because it's not going to require you to factor a full replatforming. You can start to consolidate your data and organize that, but start to leverage it in your current system. So you can layer it on top of your current e-commerce site. You can build a new channel that interacts with these services differently than you've thought of before. Just think of just speaking directly into your phone, or using your phone camera to provide content back to the AI service that may be able to use that to respond to you more directly. And so, you know, the time, like Cecilia talked about, things are moving so fast that you're trying to figure out, well, how am I going to keep up with that? But getting your foundation to that point is going to enable you to be able to adjust and adapt to the changes that are occurring today without the heavy burden of the uplift of a complete replatforming. But once you're in this space, then you can start to plan and align to the stakeholders that are demanding the change that is going to, you know, enhance the lifetime of their business value. So if we look at the next, this is just another example of what it could be. You know, think about the hyper-targeted personalization, but also make it transaction ready. So I've talked a lot about the data foundation and what underpins, you know, this type of technology, but the other side of it is that you need to have a service that can be interacted with programmatically. And that's, you know, that's also something where we talked about earlier, that e-commerce platforms lack these tools. You've got to have that type of a system that can support taking the customer to the end of the journey. And that includes checking out, it includes saving credit cards or reusing saved credit cards, and the full calculation and checkout experience being automated through these types of chatbots. So, go to the
Steve,
next.
but before I wanted to make sure that I jumped in on a point that you just made, which was, you know, everything that we're showing. So right now we're in screenshots, but all of this is coming from, you know, demos and functionality that we have built that Sitecore has, that XCentium has. But the important point of, we're not talking about a massive re-engineer, re-architect, re-platform everything to get to this state, right? So this I think is the beauty of what, you know, the power of Sitecore, what, you know, what XCentium has in place as well. And, you know, that is a potential next step. If you like what you're seeing here, this is something that we can easily, you know, do a customized demo to kind of, you know, fill the gaps of what this could do for, you know, not just a hypothetical business, but for, you know, a customer, for somebody who's investigating. So I just wanted to make sure that I underlined that point as well. This is not a, you know, hey, you have to redo everything in order to get to this state. This is definitely a crawl, walk, run, supported by, you know, the platform and services.
It's a great transition to the next slide, which is talking about creating a roadmap for success, right? So, you know, what is it that's going to win over your stakeholders and your customers today? It's different for everybody. It may be a particular process that needs to advance and be modernized. It may be just a particular brand or division of your organization that has opportunities to recognize you know, rapid growth today, right? And so once you start to identify what those potential processes may be, then you can start to align them from the stakeholder input. So that's driving forward what the business value is that they're seeking, right? Because everybody, you know, stakeholders and business leaders, their number one objective is always to grow long-term value of their companies, and that's, you know, that's where that roadmap becomes essential, to align to what those kind of outcomes are and react to what you're doing. And so when you have these processes mapped and you're aligning them to the technologies, then you start to, you know, develop the activity that produces what the processes that you're trying to fulfill are, and you're connecting across those until you get to the point where you're starting to launch your own digital experience and making what, you know, bringing forward into the customer and interacting with them directly. And so it, you know, the roadmap is not a waterfall 2-year-long project cycle. It is identify something today, solve and create for it, and move iteratively and continue to advance. But you can recognize rapidly, because this technology that we're talking about today is supporting those efforts. And it's not just, you know, throw everything over the fence and sit and wait and see what it turns out to be in 2 years, because it will not be the same as it is today in 2 years' time. And so this is,
well, yeah, and that's an important point too, because I know, you know, that the way we work and what we advocate is, yes, there's a roadmap, but it's also, somewhat hypothetical, right? So in addition to rolling things out in a quarterly fashion, as opposed to, okay, we're going to, see results from this thing in a year, it's much faster than that. But there's also that constant realignment of, okay, here's what we thought those goals might be. Let's reassess. Where are the opportunities, and where is the biggest value? I think it's now time for the fun stuff. So let's get out of the presentation deck and let's go to the cool demo that I got to preview the other day.
Is this one mine or Catilia's?
I think this one is yours.
Okay, I'm all set here. So what I'm going to show is a Power BI dashboard that is connected to a Microsoft Fabric instance that's connected to Order Cloud. So there's operational data from the product catalog and from order history and things that are fed into this data lake that is connected to Power BI. And all of these things are happening live. There's no batching, there's no nightly, there's no delay in the data arriving into the system and working with it. And so as an example, we put together some out of the box type of dashboards with Power BI, where you have some reports like a sales summary report. You have a nice geo graph of distribution of sales, put out into a table format. You see some trend analysis on revenue. You see sales revenue grouped by customer age, sales by product categories. But as we get down into here, this is where I think some really interesting things start to happen. And this is your ability to use plain language to generate your own reports. And so there's some preset ones here as prompts and ideas to get you started. But if I started to just type what a particular report may be, and let's say I want to get a report on the top 5 selling products, right? So I can say, what was my top 5 selling product? And you can start to see some IntelliSense filling in. And this is actually referencing the semantic model of the data that's available to you. But carrying forward all time and as a pie chart. And I choose that, and very quickly it spins itself and will produce the pie chart, which didn't render very well. Let's try it again. Maybe if I didn't stop misspelling things too. Copy and paste it in here. So there we go. Should have just copied and pasted from the beginning instead of trying to type it. But so you see, here's a pie chart, quickly rendered, accurate. You can see the legend on the right here, and you can drill into some of these to get even deeper. And as another example, let's just see what the top product categories are by order line count. And we'll look at that as an area chart. And we'll bring that up. And so now we see men's shoes and coats and dress shirts, and you can see, 13,000 were ordered in the men's shoes category going forward. And so, these are examples of the power that is bringing to the fact that this data is consistent, consolidated, and accurate. And now you don't have to necessarily go into your engineering team to ask for these reports to be generated. You can be prompted on your way through to start creating your own and reacting to questions within your business units today that you probably encounter on a regular basis.
Well, and I could foresee, Steve, the use of this. I mean, this is really exciting to me because, again, marketing side, I'm looking for those things that can help with strategy. And sometimes I see there's, like, in the field there can be a challenge twofold. One, it's what questions should I be asking if I own a section of the business or I'm responsible for a strategy? Because half the things are about, like, the unknown. What am I supposed to be asking that I'm not? So I could see this being helpful in informing that. But there's also what I've also seen is, especially if you have really good analysts who know their silo or their section of the data, it's sometimes a little bit of Simon Says. There's an exact question being asked and an exact answer being given, which sometimes misses an opportunity or context because there's just a direct Q&A. And it seems too like there's, with this model and these capabilities, we've got the opportunity to, sometimes the answers to those questions are in multiple places with the data. Oftentimes they are. And so as we were talking this through, as you were sharing with me, that was the thing that made me most excited was, the fact that all of that data gets aggregated appropriately.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about your e-commerce platform. We're talking about everything, your point of sale system.
Yeah.
We're talking about your production facility. You're talking about your warehouse and delivery and fulfillment. All of these are data points that are generally siloed, but they can all be unified into this to start working together. And so, you may be in marketing, but you may need to understand exactly how the process of fulfilling an order aligns itself to a campaign that you may be launching. And so, being able to dive into this, and it's just so powerful to be able to prompt it with your own language and have it interpret that and generate what you're looking for. It gives so much freedom. And that's a lot of where we talk about the efficiencies, right? So, today's world, you're likely sending over those requirements to an IT team. They're getting it back to you in a week or a couple of weeks time, and it may not be completely accurate. So you need to go back and get revision to it. And now you've spent a month doing something that we're trying to show is going to be a lot more capable of you having it in your hands and doing it more immediate today.
Well, yeah, and that's the challenge. I mean, you referred to it earlier, but I think that's the challenge that we see all the time, which is, okay, great, I can try to get those answers around the data, but by the time I get those answers, they're outdated because so much time has gone past that now something new is happening. And then we have to, it's the time and the immediacy around that.
Yeah.
But for the purposes of this presentation too, we showed that demo in a Power BI report. I think the implications though are much more widespread than that. That was just kind of to bring to reality. This is an example of what can be done. But I think there's implications well beyond that,
Sure.
and things that we can potentially show. Katilia, I've been doing this, sort of just one-on-one with Steve here on this. You probably have something to add around the reporting there that we just saw.
Yes. So I was in a session with Microsoft last month, and what they provided with some numbers, like how many decisions go unmade because the cost of getting the data to drive those decisions are so high because they don't want to invest in it. But this is the promise with AI, is it will put the information right in front of you in not days, not in hours, in minutes. So that's a really good promise there. Your decision makers will have all the data they need without the ability to wait on for it for days, or maybe it's so expensive to get that data that they don't make that decision, it goes unnoticed. So that's really promising.
I've seen that a lot. I think we've all experienced that in many different ways. So I know I don't see that we have any questions in the chat, but maybe a last call. If you do have a question, we do have the chat functionality open here, so you can certainly put something in there for us to talk about. But the three of us certainly have a lot of opinions, so I already emphasized the fact that what we were demoing today is not a heavy investment, either time and dollars, to get some of the advantages of this going within your business. So as potential follow-ups, I know we would love to to show you a little bit more under the hood, maybe in a in an individualized setting. I know we've done demos before where we can take, your actual data to show you what this might look like for your particular business. So you can certainly reach out to us for that. And that's something that, I know Sitecore is capable of doing that. XCentium, we're often, doing that with you all. But these are things that we have already built out. So just like Katilia's point, where it doesn't take, weeks and hours to do it, that's something that we can get set up pretty quickly. So we'd love to chat more about that. Steve, is there anything else in terms of last food for thought that you want to add?
Well, I think to add into your point about doing some more targeted demos with customers, We have been doing that. And what we ask is like, send us your product catalog, whatever data format it is in, send it over to us. And we're quickly getting that into the systems, into the fabric layer, and making actual, here's what your site's going to be. This is the interactions you're going to have. And it's a very effective way of spearheading some thought from the customer to recognize, oh, I see where this value comes in, see where it plays. You know, some customers have said, oh, I can give this to my floor salespeople, and they can now answer complex questions that are difficult for me to train my staff to do. And it's so there's a, you know, like that serotonin joke people like to talk about, that, oh, the recognition, the light bulb goes off, and that's what we were hoping to do with some of these things, and those targeted presentations are definitely effective with that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. And with, you know, with, I think what we can show, it's pretty, sometimes you have conversations about, you know, the potential ROI, and it might be a little bit fuzzy. With these conversations, I feel like it's really clear of like, oh, you know, I mean, you talked about, you know, your customer where they had, you know, 19% of, you know, of their business they had to leave on the table because they just couldn't support it. It's pretty quick to be able to, you know, have that hypothesis of this is the potential. And then the exciting part is, I think what we're seeing is that it's typically delivering beyond that potential.
Yeah. I think another good point too that we didn't quite touch on here is, you know, what a lot of the public viral type of feedback around these AI systems are the inaccuracies, so the hallucinations, right? And the funny one today is that Google's Gemini recommended you add glue to your pizza, right? And you know, so people can see that and they get worried and they don't see that. But this is where you're creating your own private data model here. You're controlling it. You're defining the parameters of the responses that are there, and through the prompts that are generated, you know, by like Katilia and his organization, you're eliminating what a number of those hallucinations may be, and you're becoming more accurate within that, and so then you start to trust it, right? And so it eases the burden of fear that maybe there's a brand compliance problem, or you know, just the inaccuracies that can create liabilities. But this is putting those kind of things into your hand. And they are putting them in your hand in a cost-effective manner, because that's the other thing, is these things look expensive. How much can this cost? And but you're recognizing cost savings through tremendous consolidation of systems, and then also just leveraging the operational expense structure of Azure's usage consumption type of pricing model. So
sure. Katilia, any last points from you before we wrap up here?
Yes. So wanted to emphasize, AI is a long-term investment. You should differentiate yourself, like what you want. Like there's a lot of hype out there, and the reality there is not as good as the hype. Obviously, we'll reach there, not now, but that's where you have to take the step one. Like you need to mimic what a human can do and start there. Once you have that foundation, like Steve mentioned, like you have everything set up, the data model, the initial steps, then you can start tweaking it and see, okay, what's the next level? And then you crawl, walk, and run. So that's the last piece from me.
Excellent. Well, we'd love to talk with you individually about your own needs. We'd love to show a little bit more. So if you're interested in a demo or learning more, definitely get in touch. But we will love to talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you later.